Welcome to the Global Medical Device Podcast, where today's brightest minds in the medical device industry go to get their most useful and actionable insider knowledge direct from some of the world's leading medical device experts and companies.
If you're a medical device professional, what does your EQMS, what's it doing for you? If it's paper-based, I can tell you what it's not doing, and that's helping you accelerate the delivery of your life-changing medical devices to patients who need them most. Paper-based quality management system sounds almost like an oxymoron. How is your QA team going to achieve true quality if they're still chasing engineers for signatures or searching for the needle in a stack of papers? Greenlight Guru is the only quality product development platform designed to support medical device companies throughout their commercialization journey. That's because we're from the medical device industry ourselves. If you're looking to deliver high quality, life-saving devices to market on an average of 3 times faster, contact Greenlight Guru today to start the conversation. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Etienne Nichols. I'm the host of today's episode. In today's episode, Maxime Rochon, Taylor Brown, and I got to speak on the topic of supplier management and how oftentimes companies take these relationships for granted, when in reality, how you manage your suppliers directly impacts your supply chain, which kind of seems obvious when you put it like that. Maxime and Taylor have actually worked in the vendor-vendee relationship together, so this was a really fun conversation. We covered a lot of ground, talked about things like some of the reasons you should always be working to build those supplier relationships. It's called digging the well before you're thirsty. Best practices for supplier relationships. How do some of the best companies in the world relate to their vendors? What do those relationships look like? And then third, how do you choose suppliers that will work with you even if you're low volume, as is the case with most medical device companies? Maxime Rochon is the Director of Quality Assurance and Clinical Affairs for Puzzle Medical, where they're working on a Class 3 device. He has a ton of experience in both the supplier quality management and the clinical relationships. So he's an excellent resource in this regard. Taylor Brown is a medical device guru, as well as being the manager of onboarding and implementation for Greenlight Guru, where she has worked with, I'm not exactly sure how many companies. She didn't give me an exact number, but I believe it's over 100 and less than 300. But she's helped them build out and establish their quality management system. She is the OG. She is the original guru. She knows how to handle these different relationships. Maxime and Taylor have actually worked, as I mentioned before, in the vendee relationship together. They're also both people that you would want to hang out with in real life if you actually met them. So this is a really fun conversation. We hope you enjoyed this episode with Max and Taylor on the human side of supplier management. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Global Medical Device Podcast. Today I get to speak with the Director of Quality and Clinical Affairs at Puzzle Medical, Maxime Rochon, and also Taylor Brown, a medical device guru here at Greenlight Guru. And the topic we want to talk about today is the human side of supplier management. But before we get into today's topic, how are you guys doing? How are you doing, Max?
Fine, very good here. We're based in Montreal, so during this time of the year, there's we can see the snow from the window, the same height almost. So it's good we're in the skiing season. It's very good.
Oh man, I've got a snowboarding session coming up in a week or two. I think I'm going to Denver, so I am so excited to be right there with you. Maybe I need to come to Montreal though.
Yeah, for sure.
Taylor, how are you doing today?
I am good. I've never done any snow sports, so you guys can leave me out of the trips. I'll go to the ski lodge and I'll drink hot chocolate.
Yeah, the after ski is the greatest part.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, well, as long as you're there, it's totally fine. You don't actually have to be on the slopes.
For the vibes. Yeah, absolutely.
So just for the audience awareness, just so how you know we know each other, Maxime works at Puzzle Medical, which actually uses Greenlight Guru. So we work at Greenlight Guru. And so the reason we got on this topic was we were just thinking about the relationships that we have with customers and vendors. And per our 2022 State of the Industry Medical Device Report, one of the benchmark studies that we did, where we interviewed over 500 customers or 500 medical device professionals, different companies, one of the things that we saw was supplier management was one of the big ticket items, one of the difficulties. And now that we're working on the next industry state of report for 2023, it's another big ticket item. Supplier management is always one of the top of the list, one of the most difficult things to really get your arms around since the pandemic. But when I see some of our relationships with vendors or suppliers, you guys just come to mind. So I don't know. I just want to maybe open the topic and see what you guys, any recommendations or how you actually employ that human side, or is it a competitive advantage in your company? What do you guys think?
I mean, I can kick us off here. I think from our perspective, and I'm on the Greenlight Guru side, obviously. So I am Max's supplier. Max can show up and audit us at any minute and he'd be welcome, obviously. But I'm, representing the EQMS side of things. So when Max's company Puzzle got a contract written up with us and came on board, I was one of the first faces that welcomed the team and certainly Max to the Greenlight Guru family. And I think just whatever word you want, family or friendships, or just remembering that it's a person on the other side. Like Max has his own interests. He is excited for the EQMS. I hope you are, Max. You can correct.
Yeah, I still am after 2 years.
But just knowing that Max has his own objectives, his own goals in mind, and just showing him that I am also a person and I want him to be successful as well.
Yeah, exactly. And like when you remember that there are people on both sides, it's easier to create bonds, and these bonds would lead you to be part of the other company and feel like their challenges are also yours. So it's just beneficial for both sides to move faster when it's not just a business transaction, but also you create bond. And even after 2 years, we can say for us at least, but friendship, like you said, and it should be the same. This is the case for the EQMS supplier, Greenlight Guru, but it should be the same for all the suppliers, because even let's say for our hardware or prototyping some components, if you have created a good relationship with them, they will just be more inclined to help you to innovate faster and do iteration and stuff like that. They will feel like an extension of your company.
It's almost as if you need a person who is outgoing in that position, in whether it's purchasing or supplier management. Because when I look back on my time as a manufacturing engineer, and I remember one time we were short on a certain amount of components, and I went to Sharon Cardarelli. I always brought chocolate, and I said, "Sharon, is there any way we could get some components in here tomorrow?" She's like, "Are you kidding me?" So she called up her friend who do her a favor, and maybe we get something going there. So obviously you have to have those quality agreements in place and so forth and so on. But just to reiterate what Taylor said, it's people that you work with at the end of the day. So another question though. So that's some of the pros, and maybe there are additional pros. What about the cons of knowing the people? Because I can't help but flip the script a little bit. And I think to myself, okay, but what if I don't know them? Could I be a little bit more, if things don't work out, I can cut the cord and all these other things in different ways. Are there any things that you ever see as like, well, sometimes I wish I didn't know a person? I don't want to put you in a weird spot, or vice versa. Or is that even true? I don't know. Just throwing it out there.
Oh, no. I saw, I don't know, on Instagram or BuzzFeed or something that you can hire a Karen to be your customer service representative. Like the Karens of the world will not have any jobs at that point, so that's an aside though. We can cover that on another topic. I'm trying to think of any downsides, but I mean, maybe from my own productivity, if I see Max's name come through, I'm like, oh, well, I wonder what Max is up to. So maybe that hurts, but Max, that still helps you. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe I would say so far the only downside was because we had so much fun in the after dark party at the Quality Summit last year. The day after, it was kind of hard, but yeah, for us, I don't see any downside. But in general, I would say you need people who can be both friendly and stuff like that, but keep their professionalism also at the same time. Because at the end of the day, we still need to achieve goals and stuff like that. But it's not that hard to merge these two behavior together.
Go ahead.
Sorry, no, I think though it's more difficult. I'm thinking of suppliers that I worked with in my past. I was at a distribution center and I was on the quality auditing side. So we went to a lot of suppliers and I filled out many a supplier assessment form in my life. I'm thinking about Uline and Office Max. I don't have relationships with them, but at the end of the day, they were supplying me tape and boxes. So maybe there's a a chart or a table we could create, you know, how personalized is the product versus how many personalized touch. And that's why I love being in the software as a service business, because you get to have both. You don't have to pick. You don't have to pick.
That's a really good point. Yeah, go ahead, Max.
Well, just to add on this, I think it's related to the frequency of exchanges you have to have with the supplier. So let's say I'm speaking with, it's like working with a teammate or someone. If I'm speaking with them each day, well, the relationship is more important than if it's just ordering table, which are still very important. We bought a lot from you, but yeah.
That makes sense. And I can see each department maybe having a different relationship with a different supplier. Like, of course, maybe your quality and regulatory professionals might have a better relationship with your EQMS versus your R&D and product development engineers, maybe with their SolidWorks or their CAD modeling software representatives and so forth. So that makes a lot of sense. So trying to think of another question around this, though, what are some of the ways in the early days, like how did you establish that human connection with, you know, what ordinarily we would look at as simply a professional relationship? Are there any tips or tricks you can recommend?
I can start. I mean, from the Greenlight Guru side, and I tried to do this in my past with, you know, other suppliers as well. But understanding, I think it just has to start with understanding the goal. What is the priority for this person that I'm working with, for this company that I'm working with? Because when you walk in on an audit or the first call, that's probably the only thing you have in common at that point. You know, I know Puzzle Medical wants an EQMS. Great. Tell me more. What are they working towards? So I love seeing our new customers come in, and I immediately go research their product and just see how can I relate to this? Or I'll go stalk them on LinkedIn and say, oh, well, this person, you know, went to DePaul University in Indiana. That's a connection right there that I can make. So understanding what business goals you have in common, and then also digging a little deeper when you meet the person to see what else you can do to establish that connection.
Yeah, being accountable for what you committed to also, like, so, you know, let's say at the beginning, you know, there's the onboarding experience with Greenlight. So if we share our goal with them, and then like it's like their actions are not aligned with what we want, it's harder to create a good relationship afterward. And you know, it's something like very in French it's subtle, but yeah. Sorry for everyone. I'm English is my second language, but
you're ahead of all of us. So
yeah, right. But you know, just taking a few minutes to being vulnerable, let's say, or you know, speaking about the difficulties, not always painting the something like the best scenario, and also sharing personal stuff, just to learn to know each other better. It's always easier than to create a real bond with people.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. I mean, just going back to the title that we kind of have self-selected, the human side of supplier management, remembering it's a person and being willing to be a person back, I guess is kind of what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you think Taylor did especially well? Anything stand out since you guys have been working together for a few years? Maybe we'll kick her off the call for a minute, but
no, but I mean so Taylor and Madison also, I need to give her a shout out.
Absolutely.
But like, yeah, the energy at the beginning that you shared with us, you know, it was, even without words, it was very easy to feel that you wanted to help us for real, and that like our challenges, were also yours. Mm-hmm. That it was very, very easy to create the bond. And also, you know, every time I had question at the beginning, and even still today, we always learn. But like you're always answering with like great detailed answer that I know you took the time to really like read and understand and gather the information to have the right answer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe to put a little bit more context, just medtech specific side of this, Taylor, I know you've done a lot of supplier quality, whether it's audits or assessments.
Yep.
You mentioned that as well. What are some best practice tips that you can give companies that are building or maybe starting out at the very beginning those relationships? From maybe even from a technical side.
Yeah, I think, Max, you kind of said it, but just being very clear about, if I'm looking for a supplier, what is that supplier going to do for me specifically? I can't go pick a supplier off the street and hope it works out, because it's probably not going to work out at that point. So as fun as it sounds, as painful as it sounds, sitting down and just like you were designing a medical device, coming up with your requirements for that supplier. They need to have X service within Y amount of time, and just being very specific on what your parameters are. And then, I mean, it's like going to buy anything, shop around a little bit, see what reviews in some cases a company has. I know, working in medical device, it's a little different, but, if you are going through a consultant service, seeing what kind of customers they've worked in the past, and are those customers successful, something like that. There's a lot of trust with supplier relationships, and we may get into that more, but again, if you know what specifics you want from the supplier, being very upfront and honest with them that this is what we're trying to do. Can you do it? And that's where, audits and assessments and all that kick in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just as a startup also, you might talk with some suppliers at the beginning that will not really take you seriously, or, they will think like the quantity you need to build is not enough and stuff like that. But it's part of the game, and you just have to pivot like fast and find another supplier who can build the same components, or if it's we can offer the same service. And at the end you will find one who's willing to help startups and innovations. So just don't lose too much energy on the nose at the beginning.
Yeah. That's a good point. And I think medical device companies don't always get that encouragement, but they need that encouragement, because usually our volumes are a little bit lower depending on the type of device you're producing. I remember going to powder coating suppliers with our purchasing department. We'd evaluate them. There's like 3 or 4 of us. We had a quality engineer, manufacturing engineer, product development, maybe supplier. And we'd go in there, and usually what we immediately off the bat was, we say, do we have any bad vibe, or is it dirty and all that sort of thing? We're trying to eliminate so that we can move on to the next one, I guess. I don't know if that was right or wrong, but now we're more in a virtual world. And maybe this is a question for you, Max. Yeah. How do you do that evaluation when we're so virtual, or have you had to do much of that, or do you have any thoughts or tips?
Yeah, so first of all, you can always look a little bit like Taylor said, but to feedback from other customer, which is a very good way to mitigate the risk of doing business with a wrong supplier. And also, you can look at like past warning letters that they will have received, stuff like that. Like it's a good indicator. And what we do, so our process for supplier approval at Greenlight, at Puzzle, sorry. I'm part of Green. I feel like I'm part
You evaluated us, yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But first of all, we share with them a supplier information form, so they can fill like the initial information, and then based on their risk level, we have different requirements. So they not be afraid to ask questions to them, because at the end of the day, they will be part of the people who manufacture your device, and you're the one responsible for the possible adverse event or stuff like that. So don't be afraid to ask questions straight at the beginning.
That's a really good point, because I think a lot of us sometimes disconnect ourselves from the end result. I mean, medical device companies, maybe it's a little bit closer. I remember I was working on it was a drug delivery device, and occasionally our CEO would stand up and talk about the device and the impact that it will have on the end user. But I think the further away you get from that, you forget about that. But ultimately, everybody who's helping a medical device company, we're helping a physician who's helping a user. Have you guys ever read the checklist or seen this book? You have it? You read this one?
I did a few months ago.
Oh man, I'm only a third of the way through, but I don't know if you remember the case. So I'm holding up the checklist manifesto, how to get things right, by Atul Gawande, if I'm pronouncing his name right. And he starts off in the first chapter talking about a young girl who almost drowned in the Swiss Alps. She fell into a frozen pond. They rushed her to the hospital, and he goes through everything that the team of physicians of 30 plus people did, how they worked on her pulmonary. They had to hook her up to her heart, all these different things so that they could bring her back, and all the things that had to happen right. Every single one of those. I've actually been thinking about, what if we made a video where, you almost recreated that, and here's a medical device, and here are all the people who impacted that medical device. Suppliers, I mean, I'm kind of going off the rails here, but
I feel it. No, I got you. It's one of those things where, being a distributor at my previous job, we were delivering these devices to the hospital. Like, talk about the last stage of the medical device journey. Like, we were loading up the van and we would drive to different hospitals throughout, the country here. So we would always iterate to our techs, our warehouse workers, the shipping team, the receiving team, even. It's like, these devices, they're packaged in cardboard boxes, but there was just a car crash and someone called in and we need to deliver this device right now. And all these horror stories about getting calls in the middle of the night saying, hey, you have this product on hold. We need this product. Like, release it. So wow. Supplier management, it's easy just to take for granted, almost like, oh, we're just going to outsource that. We're just going to outsource that. It's going to be fine. But we were taking the product the final mile for this manufacturing company who'd spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. That person in the van better be the right person in the van. You just can't pick any distribution company off the street. So we really enforce the idea of, you're making a difference here. Someone's life is literally at stake getting this product.
Yeah. And it just makes me think also that another good way to create bond or make the suppliers feel part, and not just feel, but know that they are part of the project, is to share the successes also. Mm-hmm. So, or to share some experience, just for example, we invited a few supplier to animal implants, so they can just understand better, and it's motivating to see how the device works. When we did our first in-human study and it was a success, we wrote an email to them also with some details and just thanking them for what they have built, because at the end of the day, it helped patients, and it's just not on puzzle, it's also on the suppliers, and even for you guys at Greenlight Guru, without QMS, you cannot build a safe and reliable device. So all the suppliers have an impact on the final product.
Yeah. And internally in our Slack, we have a special Slack channel for, our customer successes, and we all celebrate those. So we try we make them feel like our own. So it's really cool. One question that kind of popped into my head as you were talking there, Max, is, so if you have a relationship with your EQMS vendor, and the people, it's the people-to-people relationship. I'm curious what you think about your company and them having relationships with other vendors. See if I can verbalize this. Do you know if any of the other departments have a similar relationship? And if they do, is it helpful to know what those relationships are? Because I can just imagine a time when maybe someone complains something about the EQMS. They know to go to Max because Max can get something done there. But do you know about other things, and is that beneficial? I don't know what your thoughts are, if that even makes sense as a question. But
yeah, well, I will try to answer, and tell me if I didn't understand. But so we were in the R&D phase for a long time, and one of our most critical suppliers, our pump manufacturer. And I know the guys. They went to visit them, and for a few years, I would say 2 or 3 years, every week they were speaking with them. So we are there with the project. just doing follow-ups and giving feedback on the sample we receive. And so yeah, like you said, like if you have a good relationship with the suppliers, it's easier to give feedback, and you have more chance for the supplier to react to this feedback. So in R&D, I know the people here, they've built great relationship with a lot of suppliers, and they have like weekly calls with a lot of them.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a little bit off topic, but you had mentioned the TQ and After Dark party. So I don't know if you want to just talk about that for just a minute, because it was really a great time. I love seeing you guys. Just for context, True Quality was the annual conference that Greenlight Guru put. First annual. I don't know that we're doing one this year. I think we're morphing it into a road show. But what did you think? And what was the good and the bad and the ugly about it? I'm just going to assume the ugly was the day after the After Dark party, but so we could skip that.
It wasn't that bad, but yeah, there was a lot more good than ugly. Actually, there was no ugly about this event. But yeah, so first of all, the location was amazing. It was my first time in California, so I had the chance to try surfing the weekend before. It's harder than it looks, but
I still haven't done that. Yeah,
it looks really hard. So
the waves were too big, but yeah, first of all, with all the conferences, it was a great way to learn a lot of things in a very short amount of time. Also, just networking. So there was a lot of session dedicated only to networking. And everybody there is a professional of the industry. So like to grow the network in a very short amount of time, it was amazing. And also just to reinforce the relationship with the people you already know or you're already working with. It was the first opportunity to meet the people at Greenlight, and also met some other of our suppliers. And also, yes, another great thing is we met new suppliers that we didn't know about before. So it even helped us to develop faster our product afterward.
I totally agree. And not just it probably feels like we're completely off the topic here, but I'm going to try to tie it back together. And you guys help me out here. But not even just True Quality, but when you go to a conference, an industry conference, if you have a plan, you actually can build those relationships, which ultimately could tie into your supplier management plan. I'm going to give you two stories. So when I was at a conference recently, it was about 2 months ago, I was sitting in the audience learning about different sterilization methods, specifically chlorine dioxide, and versus EO and gamma. And later I was walking around and I ran into some people I used to work with several companies ago, and I knew that they were working through their sterilization method. And I said, you guys met this other person? They're doing chlorine dioxide. You can potentially bring it in-house. There's some more environmentally friendly ways, and just made that introduction. So being intentional and being a connector, or making friends with connectors is really helpful. And I think that's something that we did really well at True Quality. At least it seemed like, we got all good feedback there. So Taylor, you got anything? You look like you were going to say something.
No, I am so inspired, and I'm so passionate about the idea of social capital. And when I think of suppliers, I have to think of social capital. Like there's suppliers that I used to work with. Again, this was in distribution. I'm a broken record, but it was a good experience because of the supplier part, where we just had such a rapport with the manufacturers we were working with that if I saw, Etienne's name pop in my inbox, I knew that was hot, because Etienne doesn't email me unless something else is going wrong. So we have that respect and we have that social capital with each other, that he can ask something of me because I know that they're going to, pay their invoices on time, something small like that, or bring us new business, speak well of us at a conference. I think internally, in departments too. So quality was my background. Not everyone's best friend, quite honestly. So there was a lot of social capital spent being in quality, but just being able to ask for the expedited shipments, because you knew that if I was asking for something, it was a big deal. And I think what you said, Etienne, you're just making the connections for people. It's like, hey, did you even know this company existed? Great, you can go use them. Like that maybe made a device come to market 3-6 months faster because of that connection. So you never know what effect it's going to take when you introduce someone new.
Yeah. And I'm thinking of my question that I asked earlier foolishly about what are the cons and, maybe holding someone at arm's length or maybe I will speak to the companies that maybe want to hold their vendors at arm's length or maybe not be a human because then they do have that more, they can be a little more commanding or authoritative or whatever they want to call it. It's kind of like the almost a manager relationship with an employee. You don't want to hold them at arm's length for the express purpose that maybe I'll have to fire them and I don't want to be emotionally invested or something like that. That's a ridiculous way in a short-term approach. Ultimately, if you have a very close-knit relationship, even if eventually you have to part ways, that could pay dividends in the long run. So it's a small network of people in the med tech industry. At least it seems to be a small world. So it's good to know the people that are in your industry.
Like you said, it's paying in the long term. So sometimes you can think putting effort and time in this right now is not worth it. But like the impact can be so big in the long run that it's always worth creating new relationship in the industry.
Well, I'm going to let you get back to work. Your work is very important, Max, and I always appreciate you taking time out to talk to us. Where can people find you if they want to talk more, or is that okay? Do you want people to reach out and find you?
Yeah, no problem.
Social capital, Max? You want more social capital coming to you?
So I guess the best way to find me is on LinkedIn. So Maxime Rochon. And just taking the time to thank you both for the invitation. It was fun as it always is with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Taylor, same LinkedIn. What are your thoughts?
Yep. LinkedIn's good. I think that Max and I are a good, and Madison too. We can never forget Madison. She's the customer success manager for Puzzles, so she's probably listening right now. But we have such a good relationship and it's very mutual. So I understand that when Max has feedback, I'm taking it seriously. When I have feedback for Max's processes, he's going to take it seriously. So happy to talk about the human connection.
That's something I didn't even think about too, because you build that relationship. Now Max has an advocate on the inside. So you can take Taylor, she's going to go to product development and say, no, this matters. And so, yeah, that's really cool.
As I have on my, disclaimer on every call, I know nothing about coding. If I say it's an easy idea, it's probably not. So don't listen to me, but I will make sure that people know about it.
Yeah.
But just very quickly, but in the last 2 years, I gave some feedback and it's already implemented in the software. So thanks for being so reactive. Yeah.
Just Fantastic. Kidding. There's an army behind us. But yeah, talk about good supplier relationships. Feedback goes both ways. Absolutely.
Awesome. Great talking to you guys. I'll let you guys get back to it, but looking forward to next time. And if we ever have a True Quality After Dark, we'll definitely be there.
I'll be there. Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Bye.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. A few of the points I personally got from this conversation were supplier management relationships can make or break your company, but it's mutually beneficial to build those relationships. Because it's mutually beneficial, it's not difficult, but you do have to put some effort into it. Also, it pays to be choosy. When comparing suppliers with each other, sometimes it pays to make the decision based on the people you'll be working with. Better response times, quality service, proactive problem solving. Even if the costs associated may not exactly jive in that regard, it doesn't always make sense to just get the cheapest service. One person once told me, why would you pay less when you can pay more? The idea is you want better quality. Always be searching for better quality. Third point, medical device development may be low volume, but keep after it. Eventually, your suppliers will see that you mean business. So build those relationships and the people inside the organization, and those people can become your champion. If you enjoyed this episode, reach out to Max or Taylor on LinkedIn. Let them know. Link is in the show notes. I'd personally love to hear from you as well on LinkedIn, or reach out to me via email, etienne.nichols@greenlight.guru. If you're interested in learning more about our software and how it's been built for MedTech and how we have a connected document management system, CAPA management system, design controls, and risk management system, all which are Part 11 compliant. This is software built by medtech professionals for medtech professionals. Check it out at www.greenlight.guru. If that wasn't enough, we also have an academy where you can go to learn to earn certifications in medtech specific categories such as project management, design controls, quality management, or clinical affairs even. A lot of the courses are free, so check them out and share them with your colleagues. You can find the academy at academy.greenlight.guru. Finally, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes. It helps others find us and it lets us know how we're doing. Thanks again. Take care. The best medical device companies don't just follow the rules, they lead with quality. At Greenlight Guru, we try to do the same. Our medical device success platform is based on the latest FDA and ISO standards, as well as the best practices of medical device manufacturers who lead the industry with products of the highest quality. If you're ready to bring safer, better medical devices to market faster, contact greenlight.guru today.